At this time, we'll call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Public Works. This is September 11th, 2023. Betty, roll please.
Mayor Boyd.
I'm here.
Alderperson Carpenter.
Here.
Alderperson Hanson.
Here.
Alderperson Ledbina.
Here.
Alderperson Rosh.
Here.
Thank you. Next up, public comment upon matters not on the agenda. Comments made during the public comment period shall pertain only to matters under the jurisdiction of the Board of Public Works. Anyone in person, doesn't appear to be. Anyone virtually have any public comments upon matters not on the agenda? If so, state your name virtually. For the second time, any public comment upon matters not on the agenda? For the third and final time, any public comment upon matters not on the agenda, just state your name right now. Let's move to the items. Item 1, approval of the August 7, 2023 Board of Public Works meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Rash. Any discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 2, consideration and possible action for driveway request along Main Avenue for the proposed North Shore Bank 820 Main Avenue. Eric?
Yeah, so as part of our ordinance, anytime we have a new driveway proposed for, or a driveway modification for a facility that has over 3,500 cars per day, we have to take it to the board. So what this is a new bank proposed along Main Avenue. We're eliminating 2 residential drives, and then there'll be just 1 commercial drive. So staff is recommending approval of the driveway opening.
Thank you. Questions, comments, motions?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Hanson, seconded by Alderperson Rash. Any questions or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 3, consideration and possible action on award on request for proposals for Phragmites Mitigation. Eric.
So this is our annual program that we started last year. And so we've provided a list of some of the locations. Some of them are additions to the program this year based on our pond inspections. Some of them are carryovers from last year where we're going to retreat. We have had some pretty good successes in the area that were treated, but we are going to retreat some of those areas. We went out for multiple proposals. We only received one back, Mergent, in the amount of $11,857. We did budget $20,000, so the good news is it's still under budget, so we're recommending award to Mergent, and then we will continue treating Phragmites this year.
Very good. Thank you. Questions, comments, motion? Do you want a motion?
Oh, yeah,
first?
motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Hanson, seconded by Alderperson Rash. Discussion or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
Eric, do we do any kind of public notification for people who live near these ponds and swales?
We have not been doing notifications for the Phragmites treatment to any significant degree because most of the time these are on our property. And that's where we got to make decisions in the future if this is going to carry over into easement areas and how we're going to handle those. But yeah, we have not been.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 4, consideration and possible action for consultant services for conventional water rate application. This is going to Scott.
So what you have before you, the city needs to apply with the PSC for consideration for a conventional water rate case. Basically, the intent of the application moving forward is to see whether we need to adjust our water rates within the guidelines of PSC to determine our water rates adequate enough to basically covers our debt service as well as capital projects. The finance director had a firm contacted a firm called Onward Accounting and Consulting LLC. They specializes in doing a full rate case. The recommendation of staff is to actually the cost of these services $8,900. And staff is recommending to move forward with this. It would be funded from the water utility. Like I said, the water rate case, it's kind of a long process. I know we had talked with the council and everything. We originally were supposed to be in 2023 a simplified rate case. We couldn't do it. So, I mean, we've been advised we need to do the full rate case. So really, when it's all done and said, it's most likely a year minimum probably pushing later in 2024. By the time the study is done, to determine what the rates should be.
Very good. Thank you. Questions, comments? Alderperson Hanson.
Did we get the audit back, Scott, for 2022 and showing like, cash flow and where the deficit's at right now?
I would
Pam, you
defer
want
to
that?
Pam, yeah.
Yeah, I don't have it open right now, so I don't remember the exact numbers. But yes, we had the 22 audit come back, and we did make progress. Our cash flow, I believe, improved by about $700,000. But our expenses continue to go up. We expect to continue to do additional capital, and so we'd just like to hire a consultant to review it to tell us whether or not over another year we can continue make up ground here, or are we going to fall further behind, and then we can look at. I mean, she's only looking at what's available for us to do, and then we'll still be able to look and see whether or not we want to approve that rate adjustment if she finds that we can even do one. So.
And then ultimately, it's the PSC's call at the end of the day.
Correct. Yep. Same with the simplified rate case. PSC looked at it and said we didn't qualify. We couldn't do it. So this would be a full conventional rate case that PSC would have to approve as well. Yep.
Very good. Alderperson Carpenter.
So in this study, is that person also looking at the debt that the water utility owes our reserve fund or whatever fund it is at $500,000 or more, whatever?
Well, as far as what the utility debt they have right now, yes. I mean, we look at all expenses and everything, but we only have, I want to say maybe 2 more payments on that bond that was issued when we did all the meter replacement. So, I mean, that's very minimal.
That wasn't the one I'm talking about where we have supported
You're talking about the negative fund balance, or the negative cash balance that the
negative
water
cash
fund
balance
has.
that we should eventually, if it takes 20 years or whatever.
That would
somehow
be part of
figured-
it, correct?
Right. That would be
Yeah.
part of it.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Other questions or comments? Scott?
And one of the things too, just for the board, Pam and I talked about it, and then the city administrator, the capital replacement, the water main relays. I think the board and others support. We need to continue to relay the water mains, and unfortunately, the cost of doing so has almost doubled over the last several years. So I mean, what 1.2 million used to do is not doing it anymore. So one of the things the PSC recommends is that the water utilities look at relaying 1.5% to 2% a year of their water mains, because on an 80-year life, I mean, you can only get so much. So as part of the rate analysis, we'll be having the rate case and the PSC evaluate that to determine, what they'll allow as far as the water main relays as well.
Thank you. Other additional comments, questions, discussion? I would make a motion to approve the consultant services for conventional water rate application. I believe that's good enough for the motion, correct?
I'll second.
Good with that? Okay. Motion by me, second by Alderperson Ledvina. Any additional discussion or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5, consideration and possible action on the revision of City Ordinance 8235, storage of polycarts. Who's got this?
I do.
Tony.
At the August board meeting, staff requested a review of the polycart storage ordinance. During that meeting, staff was requested to bring back a red line draft, and working with our law department, we included the red line draft, which ultimately removes some of the language that makes the screening of the polycarts from property line to property line of the individual resident. On corner lots, it would still require the U-shaped screening so that it is visible from front lot to side lot, but it loosens up some of the language in all property lines and from public right-of-way, which would hopefully incur or allow for residents to comply easier than what was currently in place.
Very good. Thank you. Questions or comments? Alderperson, nothing? Alderperson Rash, sorry.
Yeah, so I think this simplifies it a little bit, right? So we're not getting so nitpicky on this. But I'm curious about properties that don't have storage on the property, such as garages, because we have one on the corner of Suburban and Grant right now. that house that got put on that lot, I don't know, a year and a half ago. So they did not build a garage or any kind of structure outside of the house, and their carts sit in the end of the driveway. So in a place like that, how does a person comply? I
Well-
suppose they got to build some sort, and they're on a corner lot, so they got to screen from a couple of different angles then.
If, the way I would interpret it is if they place the carts on the inside portion of their lot, adjacent to their neighboring lot, basically to the west of their property, it would be only adjacent to that parcel. If it was on the suburban Grant corner, they would need the complete screening from the suburban and the Grant side.
So right now, if they've got them sitting on that driveway pad, so they actually face towards Grant. And so there's no screening to them that way, and I believe, I'd have to look, but I believe you can see them from suburban as well as you're coming up to Grant, if you're looking to the left. So you can see them from the front and the back. So how does a property like that comply?
Well, it'd be in the front, so I think it'd be non-compliance, wouldn't it? I believe. Scott, you want to take that? I know he's trying to.
That's
It
what
includes
I'm
it in the
saying.
ordinance. It includes in here that says the entire front view of the resident. So it
so
would
the
be
side
from
view doesn't-
Grant. If they
Okay.
placed it on the west side of the property from the front of the home,
Okay,
then it would just be front screening from Grant. If they placed the carts on the east side where it's adjacent to suburban and
And Grant.
Grant, then they would need
Gotcha.
the
Okay, that was the
additional
part I
screening.
misunderstood.
So it covers in here the front view of the resident
Okay.
from property line to property line,
okay, so they have to do something to block it from the front view.
from the front of their property.
Right, okay. Okay,
Other questions or comments? Alderperson Hanson?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed changes to the ordinance.
I'll second it.
Motion by Alderperson Hanson, seconded by Alderperson Carpenter. I do think if we do change this, we'll have to do some kind of education campaign, I'm assuming so, and give some time for compliance and all that kind of stuff, because there will be changes.
well,
And some
Except
people
for the
will be.
ones that have already started enforcement actions.
Well, that brings up the other question then, because we do change the ordinance. So that's up next, so then
Yeah, I
we'll
was
wait,
just gonna
we'll
say,
wait,
that's the
we'll wait
next-
for that next part then, yes,
Yes,
I'll
I
wait
have
on
that
that one
written
then,
down.
yes. But, any other questions or comments that we have? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Brings us to the next one. Item 6, consideration and possible action on Polycart storage enforcement timeline. Tony? You're on a roll.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Alderperson Hanson had requested this be reviewed with a timeline of the 15 days between each individual letter being sent out, and with a minimum of 45 days in between, and he provided the memo that's attached.
That's it. So Alderperson Hanson, we'll kick it your way then.
Yeah, so Alderperson Gantz and I have had about 3 or 4 Polycart complaints since May, all in different neighborhoods, some more than others in each neighborhood. But I've been concerned about the timeline in terms of enforcing the ordinance when we get these complaints. So as Tony mentioned, right now we send out 3 letters, 15 days in between each letter. So the minimum amount of time is 45 days before we can start taking actual enforcement action in terms of like possibly issuing a citation. Because of staff's workload with the Department of Public Works, the street department, and I fully understand, the reasons behind that, which is probably, a discussion for budget time as well. But sometimes even the 15-day intervals between letters are not followed. So like I mentioned, there was one case where I got a complaint May 22nd. We suspended the enforcement of the ordinance on August 7th because that's when the board talked about possibly modifying the ordinance. And within those like 2.5 months, only 1 letter was sent out. So the complainant, who I received the complaint from on May 22nd, contacted me in early August and, talked about why is these Polycarts still out. And then I had explained to her, well, we have only sent 1 letter, so we have to have 2 more that need to be sent before we can possibly issue citations. And now we're suspending the ordinance until it's rewritten. So I just think it's kind of burdensome for staff too to try to monitor and track these complaints for 45 days or longer. And constantly having to kind of check in on these properties. So I'd like to see it tightened a little bit. I would be in favor of even doing 2 warning letters and having 30 days. I know there's some concerns about it can take time to build an enclosure or screening device, but with the new ordinance that we just recommended, they could put it in their backyard until it's completed. So they do have some other options in the meantime.
Very good, thank you. Questions or comments on that one? Alderperson Carpenter?
Yes, I agree on that. I was gonna kind of propose, you give them 30-day notice and then you start handing out citations. Because the way the ordinance is written, the new ordinance, it gets approved, they can put it in the backyard, they can come up with some resolutions to that. And I think it should be a certified letter sent out to these people. And if it's a rented property, it has to get to whoever is the owner of that building also. So it can be resolved and we don't, 30 days goes by and citations come out, they sit out there. I don't think we need to send 2 letters out and burden staff.
Well, how about, I'll just take this quick, Alderperson Rash. How about you just go with 1 letter in 30 days?
That's my point.
I'm just, you know.
That's what I said, one
Trying
letter.
to limit the workload and the burden.
That's what I just said, send 1 letter out, make it certified,
Or 1 in 45, whatever, but, either way.
make it certified, because this new ordinance says Alderperson Hanson stated, they can put it in their backyard, they can find other ways to get rid of it if they choose and move on. Instead of burdening staff with 2 letters and move on, just you send out the 1 letter. In 30 days, they have it they either meet the requirements, put it behind their house, whatever they choose, or they start getting a citation.
How about before I go, Alderperson Rash, you guys want to jump in on this before we go too far into this? Does this sound like it's logical, practical? We're just way off base. Alderperson Hanson's just being really dumb. Go ahead. Scott?
The only thing I just throw out to the board, whether it's 30, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, one of the things, remember the dump, when we changed this whole ordinance, including the dumpsters, the board and the council wanted us to work, because it is a financial cost to any property. To build some type of screening enclosure is not as much as a dumpster enclosure. But I mean, somebody, it could be a couple $100. So I mean, to go and buy those section of fence or do whatever to screen them will be some type of financial impact. And one of the things just to keep in mind on that, will 30 days be enough, for that? So.
I'm going to take it 1 step, though, before you go. I did kind of a walk around in my neighborhood, kind of looking over the places. There's some people obviously not in compliance. Quite honestly, there's some people not even trying. But I think if you get a letter, it's amazing what happens. I think we'd clean a lot of them up, or they'd find room in their garage if they have room. But I think some will get cleaned up that way just by getting a notification. Some will not at all, and it's not going to change a darn thing. I'm okay with 45, but I'll go. Alderperson Rash, did you talk at all yet or not? I can't remember.
Nope.
Well, then you're up next.
Quietly sitting here. So I'm okay with the 1 letter in the 30 days, whatever that number is. The only thing I would caution is a certified letter. I only speak to that from experience, that having to take other businesses to small claims, you send a certified letter and they don't sign it, it doesn't actually count as valid because they have the right to refuse it, then they never saw the notice. So I've talked to legal about that just to make sure, but having learned that the hard way, when I sent certified letters for small claims for business approaches I had to do, they said they got returned, and so they had the right to refuse the certified letter. Therefore, they never saw the notice or the impact it could have.
How do you guys, Tony, go ahead.
We currently will send, as it's written now, whether it's this or another violation, 2 letters, and then the 3rd letter is certified, so that we have, even if they don't sign it, we are doing our due diligence on everything that we can for court to say we've tried every effort.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Because
So
you
that
rely
works
just
then.
on the certified letter.
yeah,
They will.
but we still do attempt 2, and then the 3rd one is always certified as we've reached out several times, not seen compliance.
Scott, was that your answer?
Yep.
Scott, do you have something else?
Well, no, I mean, in one of the things, working with our legal team, the more notice and the documentation, it's kind of like we talked about the 3, it goes to municipal court, which most likely it would. The chances are more opportunities that we actually provided to notify the property owner not in compliance, the better chance of the judge holding up and say you're going to pay the citation. So if we do the one notice, or even kind of like what you're referring to, Alderperson Raj, you roll a die, will the municipal judge throw that out?
Right. Yeah, so I think that the multiple letters is actually the right way to do it,
Okay.
but relying just on a certified, we'll get a lot of stuff tossed if they don't,
Fair
because they
enough.
just refuse it.
All right, fair enough. Alderperson Carpenter?
And I
then
don't
we'll-
disagree with that. I was just trying to move this on, and by changing this ordinance, we gave them an alternative for whatever costs it can be. If it's $200, they never have to spend their $200. They can just put it behind their house. It's a lot harder in the wintertime probably, or other issues they may have, but I mean, we changed the ordinance
It's
to,
sort of simplified now.
Well, the other thing is, we're going to change, the ordinance has changed. We can wait on this as well, too, and there might be more compliance or less issues. Scott?
Well, the mayor just beat me to that, because you're changing an ordinance. Yeah. The issues that we're seeing now that Alderperson Hanson brought up may reduce significantly, that's not there as much anymore, so.
Right.
Then we can maybe just keep it as is then. Or Alderperson Ledman, you're up next. I'm sorry.
I don't remember what I was going to say.
Oh, it worked.
All of what we were talking about.
I know. If somebody does go to court and argue that they didn't receive a letter and they received the citation, then can't you start the process there when they're at court? You know what I mean? They still have to block their polycarts. They are now aware that.
Did you catch that, Tony?
A bit of it, like if they go to court and then they could start the process, is that what?
Well, you're saying if they didn't sign for the certified letter and you go to court and the judge throws it out, they're still being notified at
Yeah.
that time that they're in violation of the ordinance.
I believe what that might do is spark the judge to say, you received your citation, if you comply within 30 days, I will dismiss the
Right.
citation, and we ultimately gain compliance. I really think the ultimate goal is to just get compliance, but there's
Right.
a lot of time involved, but I think that's the goal.
Okay. That's the point I wanted to make.
Alderperson Hanson? Did you have something? So let's go back to the, there's complainants out there that we've paused on. What happens with that now?
I have the list pinned on the bulletin board. I just was waiting until board meetings to,
Okay, so some of them could be in compliance.
they could be based upon the modifications, but ultimately, doesn't it have to go to council for full approval?
Yes, you are
Yeah.
correct.
So ultimately, they're still in could be non.
Keep them pinned up there.
Yeah, and just wait till, and then half of them very much could be in compliance. I mean, with having the front, just not having the U shape compared to what the old ordinance reads.
Very good. Where do we end up now? Where are we at with the days and then the notifications?
We haven't ended up anywhere.
What?
We've been going on this.
I know we're going
Yeah,
circles,
we're going
so do we
circles.
just keep it status quo and let things play out?
Well,
Being that things might change in the ordinance,
I think we should at least cut down to 2 letters.
Who sends the letters?
Our office,
Not you?
office staff, our office staff.
but again, if we do keep that in mind, three's better, I guess, for courts, but if we want to try it that way, Tony?
I just want to, one thing, on the May 22nd situation, that the delay in that one was my error. Ultimately, I inspected it, folded it up, set it on my visor because I was sent elsewhere. Didn't remember it to open my visor up to take in to have the letter sent. And the next time I put my visor down there it was. So it wasn't an intentional
Yeah.
delay. It was doing that, go to that, and then forgot to grab it out of my visor. So that was for that one property, that was
Yeah.
a delay in there.
Well, thanks for owning up, Tony. So again, where do we want to, Alderperson Carpenter?
if staff is happy with sending out 3 letters, I don't care if it stays at 3 letters, goes to 2 letters. I just take what does staff want? That's what I'm asking right now. What would staff like? And then we can decide from right there.
I think financially and staff time, it's burdensome to do 3, but at the same time, I can't speak for residents. Some are very busy and may not really look at mail, and others deliberately probably just ignore it. So, I mean, I don't know what the judge or legal may have more of an interest in. How do we pursue that?
Alderperson Rash?
How many of these do we get a year? Where we have to send 3 letters out? 4, 20,
Oh, no.
6,000,
100
100 a year?
or give or take. In addition to brush violations, rubbish violations, those are, well, those are mailed out as well. Yeah, the polycarts could be 100, maybe less, maybe more. Depends on
Right.
who's complaining.
On the old ordinance, yeah.
What's that?
With the old ordinance, you know, you'd have some.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering if these changes that we do here cut this in a third, you know? All of a sudden, are we looking at 30 a year? That's, you know, less than 5 a month, less than 3 of them.
I mean, reality is we can just, again, I emphasize that
I'm
we just
saying-
passed the ordinance, we could wait
I say you pass the ordinance and you leave the notification status quo,
and revisit in 6 months or
revisit
something.
in 6 months, because I'm going to guess that the complaints are going to drop considerably based on, because some of the pictures you showed of people who are technically not compliant at this point, now they're compliant.
Compliant.
And so that, out of the pictures that 6 different homes we had or whatever it was, you've now got like 4 of them that are compliant just by the change of the ordinance, so.
And an older person, Hanson, will get some grief, and that happens, that's part of the territory and the job. But at the same time, we are changing, and then you just have to tell them, well, let this evolve and see how it plays out.
Right.
And then if it's not working very well, you'll come back to us, and let's say 6 months, you let us know.
So do we have a motion yet?
We do not,
So
no.
I would make a motion to approve the changes, but to also keep the notification the same and revisit in 6 months.
We already approved the
Yeah,
changes.
this is
So you,
I'm
we're
sorry,
just,
I'm on the right.
we're on the timeline thing, so you just keep status quo
Keep
then.
the status quo and then revisit in 6 months. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'll second that.
I got
Motion by
so excited about
Alderperson
making a motion. I really want to.
Rash, seconded by Alderperson Carpenter regarding timeline to keep status quo. Any additional discussion and/or comments?
revisit.
And revisit in 6 months. Any additional discussion and/or comments? Seeing there is
Mayor.
none. Oh, I'm sorry, Alderperson Hanson,
And if we
apologies.
do revisit in 6 months, if we could get input from the city attorney's office about, you know, when the judge has these citations, does getting 2 letters versus 3 letters make a difference?
Very good.
So is that amending that or just part of the notification in 6 months? You're just asking for that as a 6 month, when we
When it
come back.
comes
to the
back.
When it
6
comes
month
back
review.
in
Oh,
6
gotcha,
months,
gotcha,
that
okay.
city attorney weigh in on that.
Okay,
I think we're okay with the motion in the
yeah,
second
that's
as
good.
is.
Yeah, we don't need to
Good.
change that then.
Anything else?
No.
All right, that said, all those in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Let's move on to item 7, shall we? Consideration and possible action on city engineer parking and traffic recommendation. Eric.
All right, so this is kind of a special meeting we had just for a discussion to bring forward to the board, because we have several other things out there we're working on that have gone through parking and traffic. But we're having this one specifically because the subdivisions we've been working on all summer are finally opening up. And we've got the Parade of Homes coming up. So of all the subdivisions, and there's 3 of them, we are looking to install just a couple stop signs, and each of these, the stop signs are installed on the new road that is connecting to a collector street, which is one of our busier streets, and pretty much standard of what we've been doing. So we're requesting a stop sign on North Honeysuckle at Lawrence Drive. There is one on the other side of existing Honeysuckle there at this time, and Lawrence Drive is a collector. And then the other 2 are both on Lost Dolphin. Lost Dolphin is a county highway. One is the Willie Mays Circle, and then the other is Battery Avenue. And again, both those county highways, collectors, and 35 miles per hour. So staff is requesting that we can get these approved so we can put some stop signs up, because we've got the upcoming Parade of Homes going on, and there's going to be quite a bit of traffic out there.
Very good, thank you. Questions, comments, or motion?
I'll make a motion to approve staff's recommendations.
I'll second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, second by Alderperson Ledman. Any questions or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Item 8, consideration and possible action on Brown County Municipal Agreement for Southbridge Connector Segment GV15. Scott.
So what the board has actually, it's 4 different agreements for GV 15, 16, 17, and 18. Basically, what the agreements are is it discusses the going in with the county for the design and construction of each segment. Segment 15 is Lawrence Drive to Lost Dolphin. Segment 16 is Lost Dolphin to 57. 17 is State Highway 57 to County Highway PP, and then 18 is County PP to County X. Basically, the county's looking for is requiring each municipality, in this case the city, to enter an agreement with the county for each segment. And as far as that, that includes design, right-of-way acquisition, and construction. So in this case, for item 8, staff recommends approving agreement for segment GV15.
Thank you. We'll take that one first. Questions or comments? Obviously, some are seeing funding for the first time, so there may be questions on that. Alderperson Hanson.
Just wondering about the city share being estimated at 11.6 million. I thought it was supposed to be quite a bit higher than that.
Who wants to take that one, Scott?
Well, that's just the
That's just the one
That's
segment.
one segment, because if you looked at originally what the county said is all shares, or all segments, you had segment 14, which is the interchange to Lawrence Drive, and then you have 15, 16, 17, 18. So if you add up all those different segments, the city share would be significantly more.
Like 24.
20, where's the number there?
For this one is actually the total.
Right, I'm looking at the total, though.
Total.
You said 11, so I think 26.852.
Yeah.
Is that what we have?
Or total,
Close to that.
total of the whole projects,
Right.
all of mine came up, it came out 22,629, but
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Well, this,
Because it's like $1 million and
Yeah.
then 4 or 5 million on one and 6 million on another, something like that, and then 11. So
Well, we'll move ahead on it, but they'll give total cost if you go to item 10.
Actually, it's,
we already approved that interchange.
looks like on the attachment B, it has a connector schedule on it. It has each community and the county's funding. Looks like ours total for all segments is 27.27
Okay,
million.
Okay.
so just,
Alderperson Carpenter.
so where is this gonna, I mean, this is gonna go through and we're not stopping the bridge, don't get me
Right.
wrong, but how is this gonna affect our financing, or where is everything gonna put us as we move on here? No more water projects are gonna get done, and other things, streets aren't gonna get done, we gotta bond all this stuff. I'm just saying this as a joke, but
No.
this is a lot of money that's gotta come out by 2029.
So I'll handle some of this right now, and then Pam can jump in, and Larry's here as well, too. So funding portions itself, we've identified will be through the TIDs, at least a good portion of it. Whatever we can't pay for with the TIDs that are identified, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4. I think Dan's out there too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 TIDs that will fund it. We'll have a shortfall of around 6 million plus 6 million, and that'll be debt in the general fund. In other words, we'll be able to fund it. We have no choice. This is going to have to go forward. But the TIDs, fortunately, are in a good position to do that. A lot of the TIDs are in very, very good shape. So that's how it would work.
So kind of sticking with his humor side of it, but doesn't Marty Casabucky like to fundraise? Possible we could bring him
Marty
into
on?
this conversation.
No, Marty's not on. No, we are done funding.
Where do you have the
We'll bring it up at
TIDs?
Park Board then.
It's not on there. I've got a separate document. You will not see the TIDs on there. We just knew the
Oh,
question would
okay.
come up.
I didn't-
And then you're going to get that in time.
Like
Those
for
funding
council?
sources.
For council next Tuesday? I'm assuming this is going to council next Tuesday.
Yeah, it is going to council next week, so we can provide additional information, but the funding source is a whole different discussion moving forward, but we had to approve these agreements first.
Yes.
I mean, I'd like more of a picture
You'd like more of a picture.
for Tuesday.
Larry, you're out there, correct?
Pie chart or something.
Or Dan?
Dan has a nice map.
Does he?
Yeah, I'm out here, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
And again, we can provide the percentage that we're estimating from each one of the TIDs, and keep in mind that the amounts that we're talking about from the TID districts are going to be estimates. Because again, a lot of it's going to depend on projected development in those TIDs as we're moving forward. So Dan's gone through and laid out all of the estimated and actual expenditures, anticipated and actual revenues, and what can each TID afford, is a good way to say it, to contribute to the bridge project. And again, it's a multiple number of TIDs because you're dealing with the east and the west side, and we can only deal with those areas that are within a half mile of each TID boundary. So it keeps changing as it moves across from one side of the city to the other. But again, we can provide that information as to which TID is projected to pay which amount for the project.
Thank you. Alderperson Carpenter.
No, I sorry if I raised my hand, I just make a motion to approve this.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Alderperson Carpenter, seconded by Alderperson Rash, and the discussions will continue. And at the same time, we're still trying, the county, et cetera, solicit more money to go toward this. That will defray our costs even more. We even got notification of that from the county a while back. So the understanding would be half county, half municipality, whoever is in that segment. So we'll continue. The 50 million for the bridge came from the state. I believe it's a finalized deal, if I'm not mistaken. The hope is that'll come in less than 50 million. Our understanding is that would be spread out amongst the municipalities as a benefit to us. So that's a good thing. So the funding sources doesn't end, because this goes on for quite some time.
Yeah.
I anticipate more money coming in, I would hope.
I hope.
Larry, anything else you want to add?
No, not unless you got other questions.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and we have a second. Any additional discussions and or comments? And we're only taking these one at a time, obviously. Alderperson Hanson.
So for the segment map, for this segment, and then it's also on other ones,
Yep.
we have these like red circles. Is that indicating where roundabouts are going to go?
And what are you looking at?
Look at B underneath one of the segmentations.
Any of the segments?
Oh, hang on, not B.
C on number 8.
Well, there's a really cool map on.
120 is an example. Page 120.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
under number,
Oh, like
like
these
Dan
two
said,
big
under.
circles?
No.
Yeah.
Or there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
gray one too. Is that where you're on the red one?
Yeah,
I like
red one.
11C. Is that kind of what you're looking at?
This.
11C?
The red.
No, you're gonna want 11F.
11.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that circle on PP,
Correct.
those are roundabouts.
Looks like a roundabout to me.
So PP, and then I mean, there the other sections too have the red circles.
Where do you see that? Alderperson Hanson.
They're all item F under each one of the numbers.
Yeah.
8F, 9F, 10F.
So like 8F.
I'm on the wrong picture then, aren't I? That's not the same.
Just don't blow up.
Packet page 120 is 8F.
This is all that comes up on mine.
But those circles are the intended.
So yeah, like American Boulevard.
So American Boulevard,
I got it
Lost
now.
Off,
County D.
57,
Those are all gonna be roundabouts.
PP. I mean, it's all tying over off of County X. And there might be another one at Commerce too.
Yeah, it's not shown on the maps, but there is supposed to be one in Commerce also.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? What number are we on right now, for the record?
8.
Number
That was
8.
eight.
We have the motion and second for number 8 for segment GV15. Any additional discussion or comments regarding that segment? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's move to 9. Consideration and possible action on Brown County Municipal Agreement for Southbridge Connector Segment GV16. Any additional to add, or it's pretty much the same? I'll make a motion to approve.
Well, second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Rash. Any discussion and or comments? And this does go to council then, right? Next Tuesday? Alderperson Hanson.
So for this segment, I've already had some constituents on Old Plank Road, Cornelius Martin Court, asking when we're going to have public informational meetings. Has the county given any update on that?
Scott?
What the county's just got on board their consultants for the bridge area, so they'll start their preliminary design and planning, and then they'll eventually, as they start progressing with the design, they'll have informational meetings, kind of like what they had with the informational meeting for segment 14. I mean, with the from the interchange to Lawrence Drive.
Okay.
Thank you. Other questions and or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 10, consideration and possible action on Brown County Municipal Agreement for Southbridge Connector Segment GV17.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Hanson, second by Alderperson Rash. Any questions or comments? Scott?
Just for the board, one of the things that the county commissioner emailed me today, the town of Ledgeview actually approved their agreements for segment 17, which is a small portion, but as well as GV 18.
That was my question.
Well, then it's answered then.
Thank you.
Do you want me to say it again since you have the question, or is this okay as an
That's
answer?
perfect.
for it.
Outstanding.
I guess when has Lawrence approved?
Yeah.
Theirs.
They have.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Oh, just curious.
But
I think they're getting about the same time we
Ledgeview
are.
did, he said.
And I'm assuming they're going to both on both ends, Lawrence and Ledgeview.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions and/or comments? Alderperson Hanson.
Are they still planning, Scott, to build the 10-foot wide pedestrian bike lane on the north side?
They're gonna have an option, and when I mean an option for a pedestrian facility because of the new rulings by the state, and you can't condemn property. They are going to have, my understanding, kind of two designs laid out with a plat. If there's no resistance where we have to condemn or pursue the trail, if the condemnation comes into it, then the trail is not going to get installed.
Are you guys aware of that?
No.
Yeah. Has to do with Egg Harbor and a sidewalk that was there. Scott, you want to, pretty much he gave the basics of it, but we are not in the same position we've been municipalities as far as exercising eminent domain or.
So what the county is taking a position to build on what the mayor's saying, Egg Harbor condemned some property for some sidewalk up there. It went to, I believe, the Supreme Court, maybe not the Supreme Court yet, but it overturned the condemnation. So the DOT as well as the county has taken a position, any projects that have pedestrian, i.e. sidewalks or trails that we need to purchase right away, they're taking the approach, well, we can't purchase, we can't condemn property to actually install the trail. So the approach for this, for the Southern Bridge corridor, they know the communities want the trail on the north side. They're pursuing the design with it, but if the issue with the condemnation comes through, then it's not going to happen. But it might play out by then. But it does put a little damper on things because we can't just go in and buy right away for construction of a trail or even a sidewalk.
How about that, huh? Alderperson Carpenter.
So are they, county or whoever, gonna send out letters to these people kind of in a nice, sweet way and try to convince them this is what we'd like to do and the reasons why we'd like to do it? Or is it just gonna be
I don't know what their approach is, but I know when they meet with the property owners where they need right away, there'll be discussion had, and I really don't know what their approach would be.
okay. I mean, I'm just saying you can approach it two ways and then and that's how you approach people is
Yep.
the response you get.
We will see. Yeah. Good luck, County. Other questions or comments? Seeing there is none, all those in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That was item 10, right?
Yep.
Item 11, consideration and possible action on Brown County Municipal Agreement for Southbridge Connector Segment GV 18.
make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alderperson Carpenter, seconded by Alderperson Ledvin. Any questions or comments? I think we've covered a lot of them, have we not? And we'll do it again on Tuesday of next week. That said, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Larry, you can leave now if you'd like, unless you want to stay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
Next up, future agenda items. Anyone have anything? Alderperson Resch.
Yeah, I have a property on Fort Howard Drive that's on the corner by River City Ice. And I don't know if this will be a public works, but he has had over the past number of years, I believe it's a blue house rental. He's had several accidents there where cars have missed the corner and hit the property. And he's wondering if the city can install some sort of a barricade on that curve. So it's going to be traveling from the north going south on Fort Howard towards Main Avenue. And there's that little park that's on the left. And as they make that left-hand corner, they kind of skip that corner sometimes. They've hit that house a few times, that's what I understand.
Oh, the house on the east side. So the park would be on the left side. You're driving.
Park would be on the left
We're on the
side.
same, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It goes
Yeah.
in,
It goes into that
It
little
go-
mini drive.
it goes into the alleyway or whatever to
Where
get
the
back to the,
utilities. Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking.
Eric will pull it up. So
it
the
up.
question
Right.
now, as we keep talking about this, is where it goes. So where would that?
Right there, yep. I believe that's the right property, that 117. But that property's been hit several times by cars who forget to take that corner. And apparently he had it happen again.
I'm assuming this will go to parking and traffic to start, correct, Eric?
Yeah. We looked at that a couple years ago. In fact, we came up with a kind of a policy for where we'll put in hazard arrows and things like that, and we added them out at that location so we can revisit it.
Because he's even looking at it saying, put a barricade up, at least they hit something before they hit the house, you know?
I know there's some issues that, well, we won't talk about this now, because I have a comment on that, but I'll leave that alone. 'Cause I think you know what I'm talking about.
I can make an assumption on that.
Okay. So this will go to parking and traffic?
Okay.
Okay, very good. Other future agenda items? Seeing there are none, I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Motion by me, second by Alderperson Hanson to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.